to compile that list, but I will look into it for you.
But Tom, you're not asking for a list, you're looking for a copy of the complaints.
I'd like to see the list or a complaint. I would like to see something in writing. It doesn't have to be computer generated. We used to use pens and paper to take complaints prior to having computers, so. But I think it's ludicrous at this point, 28 days after a request has been made, that somebody can't come up with numbers on a sheet or addresses that can be reviewed.
They don't have to. But you do not need to generate a list unless it can be done quickly.
Oh, okay.
That's the law.
I've also done a file requesting a copy of the $9,000 survey that we did last year that O'Brien and Gear carried out. And off the record, I guess my understanding is the town doesn't have a copy of that, and we spent $9,000 for that work. I'd probably like to know why we didn't receive a copy for work that was done and paid for.
Look into that. When did you ask for that?
I believe it had to be somewhere around the 5th or 7th of July. I didn't print out the copies.
I don't recall seeing that, but I will look into it.
No, I recall seeing that, and I got a copy of that, the drawing, and I gave it to Tracy to give it.
Not the total, yeah, okay. Not the whole Hillary part, but just for that particular survey work that was done, because that was done.
So that was part of that.
Okay, so you had both, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was, that was that went all the way from your house all
All the way to South Bay.
All the way to South Bay.
Yeah. Okay, because I knew she said something about a topo map, but I said,
Yeah,
well,
no, that was
I want
part
the
of it.
survey.
Yeah, that was
Okay,
part of
then you have it in your office and I come in and review that.
it. She didn't give you that?
She's on vacation, so I...
No, I gave her that.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay, I wasn't sure.
I thought she gave that to you.
It is available for you to come and get.
So with the survey, you also have the survey, so that, well, chase the survey down.
Yeah.
The other thing that I requested at some point, because it's probably not complete, is the cost for doing these various projects. In particular, the fact that the taxpayers have to go in and bail out the inadequate work that was done in the first place at Cody's Corners. That project's less than 10 years old, and I understand their complaints that their sump pumps are going all the time. But if anyone actually went up there and looked at the lay of the land, if the water's running from the back of my yard to the back of my house, and the swale is slightly higher, that water's going to drain to the back of the structure, and the sump pumps are going to be running all the time. That site plan should probably have never been approved the way it was, because the swales were inadequately placed. And the other fact is that there's plenty of room for that swale to drain in the direction it was supposed to, and it should have been a couple of feet lower, and it wasn't done that way. The other problem, the engineers, when they do the inspection and sign off on it, why was it accepted in the first place? I think, Ron, you went up there, probably looked at that, and they had to drop that swale a couple of feet, it looks like. And then we had to put under drain in it, which is a pretty expensive option because most people don't have an under drain in their swales. It's probably $20,000, $25,000 worth of work that we're all paying for because the job wasn't done right the first time. I'm just as concerned about work that would be done in the crossings on Josh Farms Road, I believe it is. I've been down there looking for it. I don't know what the work is supposed to be done to proceed, but the question would be, if there's 2 or 3 phases there, that's not even a finished project, 5 years old, and why are we spending money there?
Tom, I wanted to respond to you about Cody's Corners.
Sure.
You're right, we don't have, all of the expenses yet for that. We don't have the materials and the
Invoices.
yeah, so, we haven't been able to give you that information. That's one of your point about, why weren't the inspections done? Why weren't the as-built checks? I mean, that's a systems problem, that we have identified. And I don't know how to go back and rectify, past offenses of that. But we certainly, are trying to address that in the future. With Joss Farm Way, it is a fairly new development, and it's not even totally built yet.
Correct.
When we went to inspect that, I did say, well, maybe we can correct, the drainage issues there using securities money. And when we inquired, $203,000 in securities money was released on December 9th, 2009. So there is no securities money to go back to try to correct it. So now we're faced with, the problem of trying to prioritize, where is the biggest need, with these drainage projects, because obviously the funds are limited. So the systems problems you're identifying, is something that this administration is taking a look at.
So the money was released last December. I think there was a meeting in December where it was all released.
I checked with Tracy and, she looked it up and that's when the money was released, so there wasn't any securities money to fall back on.
Well, I would presume, not even been here in December, but probably was a 5-0 vote. Nobody that's currently on the board would have thought to question whether or not all that work was completed and all security should have been released.
I don't,
And presumably, we could look, Tom, but most likely was a letter from engineer recommend, at some point we have to look into it.
Then when is the town going to go back to the engineers and say, you owe some money because you didn't do your job? Where does the buck stop? I don't expect it to stop with you in this case. When you make a mistake, it'll have to. But why are we paying for these things? Why isn't somebody being held accountable for the work that they should have done? And now we're paying for it again. And it'll continue to happen. I can show you, I've taken photographs of a lot of these new subdivisions where the work was done inadequately and it was just rubber stamped. The engineers or whomever just said, okay, it's going to fly, we'll let it go. And now when those things have to get fixed, we're going to pay for it. All the taxpayers in this town. So it's really a shame that it's done that way.
one of the things in our discussions, one of the things that our supervisor has proposed is to withhold security money specifically for drainage, and we're just in the process of fleshing out that concept, so that, we hang on to securities money until, for example, the last lot, in a development is built. A lot of the developments are finished or close to being finished, but, that would help with a situation like the crossings where Joss Farm is located, so.
And Tom, maybe you could provide we have it on the record as to the specific grounds, but perhaps we could have a discussion with Tony as to whether or not there is any recourse if there's deficiencies in the work done. I don't know.
Well, and again, when I was spending the rest of the evening up here, a couple of years ago, O'Brien Gear did, based on my recommendation, you may recall, when the empty shiner was put in, those concrete gutters were poured in sub-freezing weather. You can't leave concrete out to cure it for 2 or 3 nights with the temperature below 30 and no insulation on top of them. They extended it 3 years. The problem with that, though, Jim, it may take 10 years for that concrete to delaminate the top surface. It's been compromised. It could take 10 or 15 years. It should last 30 years, but it won't. So we'll get through the 3 years and then the structures and the aprons will fall apart prematurely because it wasn't inspected properly, or at that point in time, I think the town or the engineer said, well, we can't tell them how to do their work, but I said, but you accept the work and the town will be liable and responsible for the maintenance of it at some point. So is it a catch-22? You should tell them, if you pour concrete and it freezes and we know, we're never going to accept it. You're going to tear it out and start over again. That's what the state projects would do, and the county would do it too. You can't accept material work that's done to substandards and expect it to hold up. And then, because it's coming out of the taxpayer's pocket, it's okay. I don't think any of us as personal property owners would buy frozen concrete and say, well, I'm going to accept that because give me a 3-year bond, but if it lasts 10 years, I'll be happy if my basement structure falls apart on me. But I'm just throwing it out there. You know, the last thing I'll leave you with, I'm sure the engineer's dedicated to doing a job. I think spending $49,000 to do some of the work, which I have 2 professional engineers with licenses that could have volunteered to do some of that work. There's 4 of us that are retired, and I'm still waiting for our telephone to ring, and we wouldn't charge $49,000. So.
Anyone else? Thank you. With that, I would be looking for some engineering comments. Ron, do you have any more?
I have nothing more, thank you.
And attorney comments? Nothing. So we will go to board comments.
I have nothing.
Her? Okay. Lynn?
I have nothing.
Tim?
Nothing, Don already mentioned the 25th, the town meeting will be at South Bay, and the police committee will have a report to present to the board and to the public. They've been working several months now.
Many Mondays.
Yes, long Mondays.
4 months. 4 months.
And that's all.
Jessica?
I just wanted to mention, for those of you that don't know, I'm liaison to the planning board. And I did want to tell you all here tonight that there will be a public